What do you think of Crawford Canelo? There's a lot of talk about that.
I think Canelo wipes the floor with him. I love Crawford. I told you when Crawford and Spence that Crawford would beat the hell out of him, but Canelo was a different proposition.
A good little man has never beaten a good big man.
Warnings are flooding in from every corner of the boxing world, all sounding the alarm for Terence Crawford as he edges closer to a potential showdown with Canelo Alvarez. The buzz is growing louder around the idea of Crawford leaping up 3 weight divisions to take on the Mexican superstar. Fresh off his dominant performance over Errol Spence Jr. to unify the welterweight division, Crawford's stock has never been higher. But despite the hype, many experts believe he's entering dangerous territory, arguing that the strength, size, and raw power of Canelo at super middleweight
We see that as a weakness. Seeing how they match up, I think that we just overhyped Crawford, and I think Canelo is going to beat him up.
Why do you think he's overhyped?
The recent win against Spence, but it was mostly because people just hated Spence. It wasn't based on anything that Terence Crawford did.
And I mean, the performance he put on was amazing.
Was it the performance that could possibly lead to him beating somebody like Canelo, who's had multiple great performances, as opposed to 1, maybe 2? To be honest, he might just be a nobody if he loses, just like Errol Spence was. I kind of feel bad for him now that we set it up, but he still can cancel the fight.
Amir Khan, a man who knows this situation all too well, has been one of the most vocal in warning Terence Crawford about the dangers ahead. Khan once made a similar daring move. Riding high after a dominant win over Devin Alexander, he stepped up in weight to challenge Canelo Alvarez. The result was devastating. A brutal knockout that left Khan unconscious and taught him the harsh lesson of what a few extra pounds can truly mean in boxing. Reflecting on Crawford's potential jump to 168 pounds, Khan didn't sugarcoat it. I don't think anyone is beating Canelo. I like both guys, but Crawford would be giving up far too much weight.
There's rumours that Terence Crawford and Canelo.
I don't think that should happen. Look, I like Crawford, and I think Canelo is a beast that way. Honestly, I would advise Crawford not to do that.
Giving up that kind of weight against a certified knockout artist like Canelo Alvarez is a dangerous gamble, one that could end badly. At 168 pounds, Canelo's punches don't just hurt. They shake opponents to their core, carrying bone-rattling force that even elite technicians struggle to endure. But Amir Khan's warning goes beyond just the weight difference. It's about physics, leverage, and the brutal reality of what happens when raw muscle meets refined power. Canelo isn't just heavier. He's stronger in a way that matters, inside the ropes. Crawford, despite his brilliance, is not a
The others say, like, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down, you know, so I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets.
Promoter Eddie Hearn has also weighed in, echoing the growing chorus of concern surrounding the potential Crawford versus Canelo showdown. While he acknowledges the bout would pit 2 generational pound-for-pound greats against each other, Hearn emphasized that the physical disparity is too vast to ignore. In an interview with Fight Hub TV, Hearn stated, "It's a fantastic fight, 2 legends of the sport. But I think the weight jump is just too much for Terence. Even at 154, he's not a big guy. He's certainly not a true middleweight, and he's nowhere near a natural 168-pounder." Hearn was quick to praise Crawford's incredible skill and boxing IQ, but reminded fans that Canelo possesses those same attributes, only in a much more physically imposing package. In his eyes, that gives the Mexican star the clear edge if the two ever meet in the ring.
How is Crawford going to be able to bridge this weight gap?
I don't think he can, in all honesty. I mean, he might not be able to bridge it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
one weight class.
68, yeah, but you're coming up from 35. 35, 40, 47, 54. Sooner or later, it's one too many. And 68 is definitely too many. But Crawford's brilliant. Like, he's a genius. He's a generational great. So maybe he can find a way to do it. But I feel he'd be hugely outsized.
Hearn didn't stop at just analyzing the size difference. He went a step further, predicting that Canelo could score a stoppage if he manages to impose his will early in the fight. He acknowledged that while Canelo is naturally the bigger man, he's not one to waste energy chasing opponents around the ring. Canelo thrives when his rivals stand in front of him and engage, allowing him to unleash the full force of his punishing punches. Crawford, with his slick movement and pinpoint counters, isn't likely to oblige.
This Terence Crawford fight?
I don't think so. I think that it's much too much weight for Terence. You know, the style was difficult. You know, people will say it was a poor performance from Terence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Madrimov. You know, I think 168 is much too big for Terence. But like you said, if the
Ryan Garcia also shared his thoughts during a recent interview with AK and Barack, and his take was even more blunt than most. Having sparred hundreds of rounds with Canelo Alvarez, Garcia didn't mince words. Crawford can't beat Canelo. He pointed out that Crawford didn't look particularly strong in his outing against Israil Madrimov, a fighter Garcia considers far from the elite tier in terms of size and danger. Madrimov isn't even a big thing, Garcia said, suggesting that if Crawford struggled to impose himself there, he's in for a harsh reality check against someone like Canelo. But Garcia's warning wasn't just about the physical mismatch. It was about experience, ring mastery, and veteran savvy. Canelo, he emphasized, has perfected his fighting style. He reads opponents effortlessly, stays composed under pressure, and controls the tempo.
And Crawford, what do you think?
That's going to be a great fight, too. I can't believe they made that happen. Turkey's been making a lot of great fights happen. You can't really hate on it. But I'm excited for that. I know Canelo is so big, so strong, and I think he'll be just too big. I mean, weight classes matter for a reason. Last question, Alex.
Teofimo Lopez has also thrown his support behind Canelo, going as far as predicting a late stoppage victory for the Mexican star. "I think Crawford's going to give Canelo some problems early on," Lopez said. "But once Canelo settles in and starts reading him, it's only a matter of time before he finishes him in the later rounds." Lopez's take reflects a deep respect for Canelo's ability to adapt mid-fight, one of the key traits that has kept him at the pinnacle of the sport for over a decade. Canelo doesn't just fight with power, he fights with patience and precision. He studies his opponents in real time, gradually making
feel before you get out of here.
Listen, we can have the skills and everything, but jumping that much like that, jumping like that much, getting hit, I don't think Crawford's ever fought a fighter that's hit him directly, just straight, constantly in the arms. And it's not because they can't, they don't think that way.
Appreciate you.
Gotta clear it out, guys. Remember, this man's been pro since what, 14?
Mm-hmm. 15.
15.
Yeah.
Veteran trainer Teddy Atlas, never one to shy away from bold opinions, offered a contrarian perspective on his YouTube channel, challenging the widespread belief that Canelo's size alone would be the deciding factor. Atlas argued that while Canelo certainly has physical advantages, they may not be as overwhelming as many assume, especially against a fighter like Crawford. He pointed to Canelo's noticeably slower footwork in recent fights and his historical difficulties with opponents, who rely on movement, speed, and slick defense. Can Canelo handle a smaller guy who's going to be faster, slicker, and harder to hit? Atlas asked. Can Crawford use those tools to take advantage of the bigger man? Atlas rejected the idea that size tells the whole story. In his eyes, Crawford's agility.
Crawford, his composure going to be like the moment a punch lands on him from Canelo?
Are you kidding me? Take that question back.
Yeah, why?
Because you're talking about Crawford.
Yeah. He's the weight classes.
He's the most composed guy. What, you don't think he'll be prepared? You think it'll be a shock to him? No. He's already moved up 3 weight classes. So now you're talking 6. If you add on 3. Crawford has the ability to slow things down in the ring that very few people have. And to see things that...
Confidence in Crawford isn't rooted in blind optimism. It's grounded in the reality of Crawford's exceptional skill set. Widely regarded as one of the most complete fighters of his era, Crawford is a master technician, commanding distance, manipulating timing, and creating angles with surgical precision. He's a switch hitter who can adapt on the fly, dismantling opponents from either stance, and he's yet to meet a challenge he couldn't...
Kovalev was older, and he does, don't get me wrong, he does have a lot of power. But all those guys that you name is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No disrespect to none of those fighters. The skill level is night and day.
So how do you see a fight with Canelo going?
It's a tough fight. Canelo is a great fighter. Like, I always had respect for Canelo, but I just believe in my skills. The fact that people doubt me, it just fueled me even more. Try to get...
Frank Warren, a seasoned promoter with decades of experience, also offered his perspective, pointing out that Canelo has shown signs of vulnerability in recent fights. You know, Golovkin was catching Canelo. It makes Crawford's fight with him more intriguing, Warren observed. I always say a good big will beat a good little, but Crawford could give Canelo real problems now. Warren's comments suggest that Canelo's once untouchable aura might be starting to fade. He hints that the years of jumping between weight classes could be taking a toll on Canelo, impacting his ability to dominate the way he once did. Despite this, the majority of insiders still favor Canelo, largely because of the undeniable physical advantages he holds.
and he's got to give a lot of weight away, Crawford, but he could give Canelo a real problem now because Canelo was getting caught.
Watching that, do you think Crawford might be, perhaps licking his lips isn't the right word?
Well, I'm sure he was. He was sitting ringside. He was sitting a couple of seats away from me ringside. You could see he liked it. No schmuck. He knows his boxing. And the other thing is, you've got to look at, what's his name? Was it Modrov? What's his name? Madrimov, who he fought, also gave him a tough fight for a guy who only had 12 fights. So it's going to be a very, very interesting fight between the two.
And sheer physicality that come with facing much larger, stronger men. It's about surviving the trenches with someone who hits much harder and can absorb more punishment than anyone Crawford has faced. For Crawford, the challenge isn't just about skill, it's about testing his limits in a way he's never been forced to before. He's dominated everyone in front of him, but he's never faced a powerhouse like Canelo. That reality is a warning too loud to ignore, and it's something Oscar De La Hoya sees clearly. The size difference has been a consistent theme in every analysis, with De La Hoya among those who believe Crawford is taking on more than he can handle.
A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game, unless you go back to certain situations with Pacquiao beat me, but I was a dead man walking anyway. But a good little man never beats a good big man, so it's a tough test for Crawford, but I'm not counting him out. The bottom line, and this is the truth again, it's a money grab. That's it.
Despite Crawford's status as an undisputed champion at both 140 and 147 lbs, the leap to 168 lbs takes him into a realm where sheer power and size can overwhelm even the most skilled technicians. Canelo, a four-weight world champion who has fought as high as 175 lbs and claimed a WBO title by stopping Sergey Kovalev, presents an entirely different challenge. Crawford's reign at 147 lbs has been defined by dominance, with a string of knockouts and an unblemished record. However, the physical realities of stepping into the ring with a powerhouse like Canelo are daunting, and the magnitude...
There's no Triple G on Bud's resume. There's no Trout on Bud's resume. There's no Daniel Jacobs on Bud's resume. Canelo is the one that's fought the elite level opposition. It's Canelo that fought Laura. There is no Laura on Bud's resume. There is no Laura on Bud's resume. Bud has never faced a multiple division champ. Bud has never faced a multiple division champ.
Yeah, but Bud is an elite boxer.
So you're an elite boxer, but you haven't fought elite.
Canelo Alvarez has not only held titles across 4 weight divisions, but has also faced the kind of power punchers and elite boxers that challenge a fighter's resolve in ways few can truly comprehend. His only 2 losses came at the hands of Floyd Mayweather, a masterful technician, and Dimitri Bivol, a natural light heavyweight. Even in those defeats, Canelo went the distance, showcasing his remarkable durability and resilience against much larger opponents. For many, the outcome of this potential fight can already be forecast by looking at what happened to Jermall Charlo, another...
I'm going with Terence Crawford, you know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show.
Jermall Charlo's recent attempt to challenge Canelo at 168 lbs serves as a clear warning for Crawford. Charlo, a former undisputed champion at 154 lbs, tried to bridge the weight gap but found himself on the receiving end of a one-sided thrashing. From the opening bell, the difference in strength, size, and power was glaringly obvious, with Canelo dictating the pace and effortlessly pushing Charlo back. It was a dominant display that highlighted just how challenging...
And the biggest question to me, how will the 12-pound difference be for Terence Crawford? It's going to be his first fight at 168. For Canelo, this is the weight class that he always fights at, no problem. But I'm really curious on how Terence Crawford is going to be able to adjust to this, and if it's going to be advantage or a disadvantage for...
Charlo's sharpness and pedigree proved to be little match for Canelo's raw power and physicality, which dominated over 12 rounds. Even Oscar De La Hoya, despite his strained relationship with Alvarez, saw this as undeniable proof that weight classes exist for a reason. De La Hoya predicted that a potential Crawford-Canelo matchup would be a one-sided affair, with Canelo's size and power eventually overwhelming Crawford. He speculated that by the 7th round, Canelo would begin to walk his opponent down, applying the kind of relentless pressure that has broken so many before him. For De La Hoya, it's a scenario...
They talk all the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that.
Roy Jones Jr., another legend with a sharp understanding of boxing dynamics, also shared his thoughts on the potential matchup. He advised Canelo to fully embrace his physical advantages, urging him to pressure Crawford early on to make him feel the weight difference. Having moved up in weight himself, successfully campaigning as a light heavyweight and even capturing a heavyweight title, Jones knows better than most the mental and physical hurdles that come with facing a naturally bigger, stronger opponent. Jones cautioned that while Crawford's speed and skill might give Canelo trouble in the early rounds, those advantages would quickly diminish if Canelo turned the fight into a physical contest. By leaning on Crawford, cutting, off the ring, and forcing him into exchanges, Canelo's power would...
Man, it's a great fight for boxing. I know people don't agree with it, but if Canelo fights one inkling of the wrong fight, he's going to lose. If he comes out and fights the right fight, it's going to be a tough one. So right now, I think it can go either way, but it depends on what type of fight Canelo fights.
You've been a guy that's in the weight class. How do you think Terence Crawford should handle the weight? Should he come in lighter? Should he come right around the weight limit?
Come in as big as he can get. If you get to the weight limit, because there is a weight limit, get.
Abel Sanchez, a veteran trainer known for his work with Gennady Golovkin, echoed similar sentiments, bluntly dismissing the potential fight as a mismatch. Sanchez drew a comparison to Golovkin's fight with Kell Brook, where Brook's speed and technical skills allowed him to have some success early on, but the sheer power and size of Golovkin eventually overwhelmed him. Sanchez believes Crawford will meet a similar fate, predicting that while Crawford might have moments of success in the early rounds, the relentless physicality of Canelo will gradually break him down. He foresaw a stoppage between the 9th and 12th rounds, citing the natural size difference as a major factor. Regardless of how much weight Crawford adds, Sanchez argued, Canelo's punches will hurt, and as the rounds tick by, the physical toll on Crawford will become increasingly...
It's a ridiculous fight myself. I think that Crawford is too small. Canelo is, in my opinion, the face of boxing right now. I think that look at his resume. I think it's a good fight for a little while. Crawford's hand speed will, just like when Golovkin fought Kell Brook, the hand speed was evident at the beginning of the fight, but as the fight goes on, Canelo's going to start pounding on him, and I think that the fight ends somewhere between the 9th and...
Robert Garcia, another seasoned trainer, took a more cautious approach, pointing out that Crawford's recent performance against Madrimov raised some concerns. Garcia believed Crawford might have been looking past his opponent, possibly distracted by the looming prospect of a mega fight with Canelo. For Garcia, this lack of focus, coupled with the size disadvantage Crawford would face, made the fight a hard sell for fans. He argued that had Crawford delivered a more dominant performance, the anticipation for the fight would have been much higher. However, as it stands, the general perception is that Canelo is simply too big, too powerful, and too experienced to be seriously challenged by a welterweight moving up 3 divisions.
I see Canelo winning, and I'm not, you know, I don't know Canelo very well. I'll say hi to him if I see him. He'll say hi to me too, but we're not friends. You know, I could probably say I've spent more time with Crawford, so I would love to see Crawford pull it off. I would be more happy to see Crawford win, you know, because I know him better. I know him.
Despite the growing chorus of warnings, Crawford remains unwavering in his confidence. In a recent interview with The Ring, he boldly stated his belief that Canelo has been holding back in his recent bouts, possibly not showing his full potential. Crawford suggested that Canelo might not have gone all out against fighters like Munguia or Berlanga, saving his best for a more significant showdown. This kind of confidence is characteristic of Crawford, a fighter known for defying expectations and silencing doubters throughout his career. He also touched on his own mindset heading into a potential clash with Canelo, emphasizing that his focus isn't solely on scoring a knockout.
Start hitting me like, all right, man, maybe he's on to something. You know, then I started sizing him up, and I'm like, all right, well, Canelo 5'7", you know, my arm's longer.
Yeah.
He's strong, I'm strong.
Right.
You know, it'd be, to me, skill for skill.
Right.
You know, because Canelo not the biggest 168 fighter. So, I just started.
While acknowledging Canelo's proven chin and the fact that he's never been stopped, Crawford remains confident in his ability to land sharper, faster shots that could hurt the Mexican superstar if they land cleanly. He downplayed the notion that Canelo is invincible, pointing out that every fighter has a breaking point and can be hurt if hit with the right shot at the right time. For Crawford, his focus is on fighting his fight, outboxing and outmaneuvering his larger opponent, rather than solely chasing a knockout that might never come. While Crawford's confidence is admirable, it faces the harsh reality of physics and history. No fighter has ever made such a dramatic leap in weight to challenge an active pound-for-pound great without paying a heavy price.
I don't gotta stop him. I just gotta beat him. I'm not going in there looking to knock Canelo out. Could it happen? Yes, absolutely. You know, when I look at Canelo, he's a smaller, bigger guy moving up in divisions. You know, being that these big guys is slower, so they might catch him with something, but he might see it at the last moment. You know, they might catch him with a...
Shakur Stevenson, the WBC lightweight champion and close friend of Terence Crawford, has long been vocal about his belief that Crawford has the ability to defeat Canelo. This conviction dates back to 2021, well before Canelo's loss to Dimitri Bivol. Stevenson points out that Crawford's power is often underestimated, referencing instances where Crawford has hurt heavyweight sparring partners in training, a testament to his strength, even while competing in lighter weight classes. Beyond power, Stevenson highlights Crawford's exceptional boxing skills and footwork, predicting that these attributes will allow him to outmaneuver and outclass Canelo over the course of the fight. For Steve...
Honestly, I think Bud could beat Canelo.
Would you like to see that fight?
Would I like to see it? Yeah, I would like to see it. Just because I know, like, I don't think that, like I said, I've been saying this, I don't think size win fights. I think skills do. So, I don't know who else probably will listen to me, but I think, like, Bud, stylistically, now I don't think, like, yeah, I think, like being a southpaw with good movement and
Stevenson also believes Crawford's southpaw stance will pose a serious challenge for Canelo, who has historically struggled against left-handed fighters. Confident in his friend's ability, Stevenson has even gone so far as to predict that Crawford will destroy Canelo, reflecting his unwavering belief in Crawford's talent and potential. On the other hand, Dimitri Bivol, who handed Canelo a significant defeat in 2022, offers a more measured and cautious assessment. Bivol acknowledges Crawford's skill and danger, but also highlights the challenges that come with moving up in weight to face a physically stronger opponent like Canelo. He emphasizes the need for Crawford to properly acclimate to the 168 lb division, warning that the increased power and physicality at this weight class can be overwhelming. As for how this potential fight would unfold, it's a clash of styles, strengths, and challenges. Will Crawford's speed and skill overcome Canelo's sheer power and physicality? Or will Canelo's experience and dominance at